As the saying goes, only the deep calls to the deep. OGD's wide range of contacts and connections attest not just to the goodwill he has garnered across and beyond the shores of Nigeria, but the very quality of these personalities speak volumes of the high regard Daniel commands among them and the pride they share in their association with him.
I'm celebrating a friend of many years who has remained consistently a friend. In those days at the University of Lagos, there were two clubs, two social clubs. The one was called ABC and the other was called Row Club. Now, as you know, in universities, clubs are very special indeed and they represent an elite of sorts. And these two clubs were the only two clubs. As a matter of fact, no other club was really allowed, if you see what I mean. But when OTUNBA GBENGA Daniel came, rather than join any of the two clubs, he just wanted to go and start his own club. But he managed to get a few people together. And you know, the strangest part of this was that very soon his club became the richest. But somehow he just kept being able to draw money from somewhere. Nobody quite knows where. I think it was at that point that I made up my mind that this gentleman, whatever he chooses to do, he will be extremely successful. And so I'm not surprised at all about all the success that he has made.
Our friend and brother, OGD as I normally call him, my views about you over the years are a very hard-working person, a very transparent person, a very dedicated, patriotic Nigerian.
OTUNBA GBENGA Daniel is the chancellor of one of my universities in Gombe State, Federal University, Kasha. And celebrate our man, whom we know has done well for this nation and has done well for this country.
A 60-year journey through his mortal plane in the course of a life marked by unusual accomplishments in various fields of endeavor will naturally elicit a number of questions from family, friends, admirers, and even detractors about the nature of such a life. Was he born great? Did he achieve greatness by dint of his ability, hard work, and the quality of his character? Or was greatness thrust upon him by sheer providence? In the case of the phenomenon known to the world as Justice GBENGA Daniel, one could be forgiven for concluding that it is, indeed, a combination of all three. Like the mythical personage in Ben Okri's novel, The Famished Road, he seemed to be living multiple lives at the same time and managing to carve out outstanding excellence from each of those lives. As a professional, he towers like a colossus in the world of engineering. As a businessman, he has distinguished himself in many enterprises, most notably as the founder and chairman of Crystal Oil Limited, a leading Nigerian engineering company specializing in elevators, overhead traveling cranes and hoists, and the only ISO 9001 certified organization of its kind in the country. As a political player, he demonstrated his leadership mettle during his 8-year spell as the third civilian governor of Ogun State, where he deployed his ability to mobilize the state's enormous human and material resources to actualize his far-sighted vision of positioning the state as a preferred destination for prospective investors and tourists, while at the same time securing the future for generations unborn. And as a philanthropist and social entrepreneur, his initiative in helping birth the Gateway Front Foundation, a non-profit organization, speaks volumes about his unwavering commitment to social progress, and in particular, the empowerment of young people, as well as providing relief for society's most vulnerable groups, such as women, children, and the physically challenged. This giant among men has had to surmount the challenges and make the most of the opportunities incidental to a life of purpose, a life devoted to a quest to actualize an uncommon destiny. This he has done by maximizing his many strengths and skills for optimal performance, while at the same time harnessing the support and services of others who have displayed expertise and experience in his own areas of weakness, an attribute which marks him out as a manager and administrator par excellence. Born on the 6th of April 1956 in the ancient city of Ibadan, capital of the then western region of Nigeria, he attended the prestigious Baptist Boys High School, Oke-Egunya, in Abeokuta from 1969 to 1973, eventually adding his name on graduation to the long and illustrious list of alumni of a school which has produced the likes of former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, Bola Ajibola, a former federal attorney general and Minister of Justice, the late business mogul Chief Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, the late sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and many others.
Well, growing up was in Ibadan. As a matter of fact, I was born and I would say bred in Okeado, Ibadan, specifically SWA/648 off Liberty Stadium in Okeado, Ibadan. It was a community that everybody knows everybody. School was at St. James's first, the primary schools in Okeado, and then I joined the ICC practicing school in Okebola. And so on the way every day, you had the Western Region House of Assembly that was there. Across the road is the Okebola residence of late Chief Obafemi Awolowo. So that's the environment where one lived. In the neighborhood, there are just a few people who have their own private vehicles, and I remember vividly the most luxurious vehicle belonged to a certain person called Ponle. And as young people, you know, anytime we call it Okodomi, and anytime the vehicle is coming, we'll go and sit, you know, to see what we call is American, vehicle, what we call Okodomi. Those were the years. We had a medical doctor who came to visit the Papa at home, Dr. Doherty. And Dr. Doherty was Papa's medical doctor, and every now and then he comes occasionally, not really to treat him for much, but they exchange discussions and all of that. And he had a car, a Citroen D Super, and the car those days is for us something that you marvel at, because when the car is parked, the hydraulic system will lower the car right down, and when he prepares the car, all the children around will be waiting patiently. Even if he will leave 1 hour later, 2 hours later, they'll be waiting to just see how the car will start, and the thing will race. And before Dr. Doherty moves, it was called Citroen D Super. I remember that at that time I said to myself, oh, this is one car that I was. So those are the sort of things we saw. We saw so many things that, you know, encourage us as young people. You know, we had role models, we had things we aspired to, and I think it was life was very good.
Daniel then proceeded to the School of Basic Studies at the Polytechnic Ibadan between 1974 and 1975 for his advanced levels. His time at the prestigious School of Engineering of the University of Lagos from 1975 to 1979 could be described as his professional coming of age, as he showed great proficiency in his chosen field of study. Under the tutelage of the legendary engineer and teacher, Professor Ayodele Awojobi, whose groundbreaking research and inventions catapulted him to a global renown before his untimely death, Daniel flourished academically and intellectually He was the recipient of numerous awards, scholarships, and other accolades during his undergraduate career at UNILAG, such as the UAC Scholarship and the Federal Scholarship. He also made a number of appearances on Professor Awojobi's Science Quiz show, Mastermind on NTA. In fact, he was declared the Mastermind of the Year 1976 as he won all its competitions. His one-year period of the mandatory national service at the Lagos State Polytechnic was no less eventful, as he oversaw the construction of the school's engineering complex. Another highlight of his time there was his successful supervision of one of the engineering school's examinations, as he ensured a scandal-free, leakage-free test in an environment which hitherto was rife with exam fraud. Daniel later proceeded to obtain a master's in business administrations, also from the University of Lagos, and later on, he underwent an executive program at the Lagos Business School. His corporate life began at Mental Construction West Africa Limited, an Italian firm, from where he moved to Schroeder West Africa Limited, a German company, where he rose to become the first African general manager, and later Deputy Managing Director at the age of 33 years. At the time, both firms commanded a significant share of the Nigerian and sub-regional market as far as the sales, installation, and servicing of structural machinery were concerned. Along with the high quality of his products and services, the work culture of Schroeder conformed squarely to the typical German machine stereotype, with an uncompromising emphasis on efficiency, painstaking rigor, adherence to best practices at all times, discipline, close attention to the minute details, and obsession with safety of personnel and end users alike. The set of lofty core values, rigorous work culture, customer-focused business model, and high-end modus operandi as practiced by Mental Construction and Schroeder inspired Daniel in no small way, and he became the cornerstone of his own entrepreneurial life when he eventually left Schroeder to form his own company, Crystal Laurel Limited, which was incorporated in 1990.
I was there already, and it was like, what next? So I guess that, yes, it was tough to leave the comfort and go and start, because from that, I then started a one-man company. And I usually tell people how I will type the quotation, I will go and deliver myself, I will do the repairs myself.
This radical career move, leaving a plum position in a global conglomerate such as Schroeder, complete with an array of mouth-watering perks and benefits in order to wade into the uncharted and uncertain waters of private enterprise, confounded friends, well-wishers, and observers. To them, it was akin to abandoning the proverbial land flowing with milk and honey for the harsh, unforgiving, and unknown wilderness. But, as would be seen in the years to come, this decision was merely in the character of a man who has refused to be satisfied with mere comfort, a man who was always pushing the frontiers of what was possible, a man who saw average as a mortal enemy, a man who would gladly do away with the good in order to pave way for the better, and for the ambitious, driven man such as Justus GBENGA Daniel, the notion of glass ceilings was an anathema to everything he stood for. Such ceilings existed only to be shattered.
I met him as a young graduate, coming to us when we were in Lagos with his expatriate partners, I would say. And when he was going to become a governor of Ogun State, I was one of the people that believed that he would perform, and he has done it. What he did there is there for everybody to see. I don't like to compare notes, but he has done more than expected of a man of his caliber, with with all his technical experiences and so on, he has impacted into the state.
I was particular with associating with people, respectable people in terms of business, because I'm not someone you please easily. But when I met Engineer Daniels many years ago, I had a wonderful experience. For somebody who is that detailed, I think the sky is the beginning for him. So I wasn't surprised he grew to be a governor. I hope one day he will grow to be president of this country.
If you know Engineer GBENGA, you know he's an extremely hardworking person. I have worked with quite a lot of people, and I can say without trying to flatter him that I've not seen a more hardworking person than Engineer GBENGA. You also agree with me that in the 8 years he has tried the governance in Ogun State, the culture of hard work became the norm. That was why it was possible for engineers in the public sector to deliver growth as good, which are being used now.
Having tested his mettle in corporate governance, Daniel decided it was time to replicate his achievement in another area, in which he has also nurtured a passion to make a far-reaching impact, this time in the area of social and economic governance, with a view towards the transformation of the larger society and the empowerment of his people by placing the instruments of their present betterment in their hands. His historic foray into politics, based on his belief that a government only exists to serve the people and not the other way round, as has hitherto been the case, culminated in his resounding election and inauguration as the third civilian governor of Ogun State on May 29, 2003. His victory signaled a determination by the people of Ogun State to strike out in a bold new direction and to shatter the glass ceilings of limitations, chronic underdevelopment, and generational poverty by buying into the developmental vision of a technocrat, businessman, and philanthropist with a historic mission to fulfill.
I sat on this table in this office 1999. I don't know how people knew that I'm from Ogun State. It's the same office here. And I will see a message. Somebody wants to see you. Who is he? I don't know him. He says he's from Ogun State. He has problems. And what are the problems? Tiny little things. He has children, no job. He cannot pay hospital bills. How much? 20,000. His children cannot pay school fees. How much? So the maximum demand I got here was 100,000, 200,000. He wants to start a small business. How much? 50,000. He wants to go to the market to start selling fishes. How much? 20,000. So I then started wondering, what is it that government is all about, that they are not able to solve this little problem? What's going on there? That was the genesis of how I found myself one thing leading to the other. I then started the foundation, the Grateful Foundation. And with the foundation, we started all of this. So we're doing free Medicare all over the place, all sorts of these little things. Got volunteers to take part, microcrediting, empowerment. And we're doing little things. And before we knew what was happening, people say, look, this is the governor we want. Come and run.
Observers of the OGD era in the Gateway State, as Ogun State is fondly called, could attest to the fact that the business of government was conducted with the efficiency and alacrity befitting of a well-run business. For decades, public sector workers in Ogun State had long operated in an atmosphere in which mediocrity was the order of the day, just as innovation and change were not only discouraged but actually resisted. But for the first time, they were challenged as never before by Daniel's administration to fire on all cylinders and to reach the farthest limits of their potential as far as efficiency and performance were concerned. A contract with the people, the OGD administration carried out an ambitious agenda of modernization that saw the rehabilitation of existing infrastructure and the construction of new ones, the re-engineering of institutions, and the restoration of hope among a people of whom hope had become a meaningless mantra, a slogan to be given mere lip service by a succession of governments and opportunistic politicians. Far from being indifferent to the plight of the masses and the urgent developmental imperatives facing the gateway state, Daniel used his second term to consolidate on the achievement of his inaugural term and to open new developmental vistas in areas such as road rehabilitation, employment generation, the informations and communications ICT revolution, influx of investment from within and far beyond the shores of Africa, tourism, rural healthcare, and sports development. Not only did his government succeed in moving Ogun State from the margins to the mainstream of the nation's scheme of things, it positioned the state as a business hub and a preferred destination for prospective investors and tourists, as well as culture, entertainment, and sports enthusiasts. And far from lacking compassion, the OGD administration invested in projects and programs designed to improve not just the standard of living of the people of Ogun State in the short, medium, and long term, but also quality of life as well, in line with its understanding that the greatest asset of any social-political entity was its people. People-oriented projects, from the giant strides in education at all levels to rural-based primary health care, to skill acquisition and youth empowerment, and to social welfare benefits from vulnerable groups such as widows and the aged, orphans and retired sportsmen and women, among others.
He has made the blessing available to all that will drink from that fountain. Is a blessing to mankind. Whenever I have issues, I sit back and I say to myself, when these issues came up, how did OGD address them? And for me, it's been a very good way to address my issues.
At the end of his constitutionally allowed tenure at the helm of affairs in his beloved state, Daniel could look back with satisfaction and no small amount of pride on his 8-year stewardship, and for good reason. The gateway state and its communities, rural and urban, corporate, civil, and traditional, had all been transformed almost beyond recognition, and a paradigm of development that naysayers had said was going to take many generations to achieve had eventually taken less than a decade to achieve, thanks to the power of dedicated service, dynamic leadership, and the engagement of the people determined to make the most of their democratic experience.
At 60, I want to wish him well. I am happy for what God has done through him. His life is a living example. Congratulations, my Oga, and I wish you well, sir.
An enigma who traveled through all of the rigors of life, crossing bridges, climbing mountains, descending and ascending valleys, and yet reaching the pinnacle of success, accomplishment, and achievement. At 60, life couldn't have been more good than it is now. Happy birthday to an enigma.
Since his departure from the gilded portals of power at the government house at Belkuta, GBENGA Daniel has returned to the company he had left in the care of men and women, of whom unflinching loyalty to the man they call Engineer J.O. Daniel is second nature. It was the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who said that the most important question we will ever have to confront in the course of our earthly lives is, what have you done for others? It is a question OTUNBA GBENGA Daniel is determined to answer in full, and to the satisfaction of his conscience, and above all, of his maker. This understanding is what accounts for Daniel's zeal for the things of God, and especially for the work of Christian Church, both in his locality and beyond. It is also one of the reasons why he deemed it fit to build a church in Shagamu in honor of his late father, but more importantly, to the greater glory of the Almighty God. Known as Abraham's Tabernacle, the church hosts a well-attended yearly Thanksgiving service, which features a keenly contested musical competition by choral groups drawn from churches far and wide. Still, this servant of the Most High God and of his people feels humbled by the recognitions his stewardship in the Lord's vineyard has brought his way, such as the title of Ashiwaju of Remo Christians and the Grand Patron of the Ogun State chapter of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, to mention just a few. Though out of the corridors of political power, Daniel is nevertheless as fully engaged in matters of public good as ever, thanks to his philanthropic activities geared towards giving our youths better opportunities for self-advancement and the less privileged a new lease of life. It is for this life of altruism that he has bagged a plethora of awards, recognitions, and accolades from every imaginable segment of the society, from educational institutions to civic and civil society groups, to professional bodies, to corporate organizations, and to cultural bodies and traditional institutions. The plethora of chieftaincy titles that have been bestowed on him over the years is an attestation to the universal appreciation of his good works, such as OTUNBA Adeoti of Umu-Ijebu, Feshojoye of Ile-Ife, Obalofi of Ijebu-land, Arule of Remo-land, Oganla of Yewa-land, Asoludero of Makun, Are Ajiboshin of Owu Kingdom, and the Olunla of Egba-land, amongst many others, all of which have made him the recipient of the highest number of chieftaincy titles in the entire history of the Yoruba race. A man with a deep and abiding love and respect for the resources of human intellect, Daniel's life has been a continuous quest for knowledge, a quest he has fed through his extensive academic endeavors and by his desire to extend the benefit of modern education to as many people as possible. His contributions to the development of education at all levels transcend his time in office and his immediate locality, and this commitment on his part has not gone unnoticed, as can be seen in the sheer number of honorary degrees and professional fellowships he has received over the years, such as the Honorary Doctor of Science degree in Engineering, DSc Honoris Causa from the Olabisi Onabanjo University in Agoiwe, Ogun State, Honorary Doctor of Science degree in Agriculture, DSc Honoris Causa from the University of Agriculture in Abeokuta, Doctor of Development Administration DDA Honoris Causa from Babcock University, Fellow of the Nigerian Academy of Engineering, Fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Management, and Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Directors, among others. Perhaps no other honor exemplifies his commitment to the educational advancement in our country than his position as the pioneer, Pro-Chancellor of the Federal University of Kashere in Gombe State of Nigeria. Outside the traditional academic and professional communities, OTUNBA GBENGA Daniel has also received a number of accolades from various quarters, most notably the media and civil society. He was voted one of Nigeria's most successful businessmen by the Concord newspapers in 1989, in 2003, and again in 2004. He was rewarded the Africa Leadership Prize for Best Performing Governor, as well as the MKO Abiola Leadership Prize for 2004. Also in 2003 and 2004, he was voted the Best Performing Governor in Nigeria by the City People magazine, while the American Biographical Society voted him Man of the Year in 2004.
Oh, it's quite a fulfilled life of adventure, of a lot of work, of accomplishments, with the grace of God. Part of what gives me joy is when I sit somewhere and somebody approaches me and said, "Oh, Your Excellency, you will not know me. My child was jobless and you gave him job. He was looking for admission, you supported. They couldn't pay for law school, you paid." And all of that just comes from nowhere. And of course, I feel good anytime at least in this state called Ogun, anywhere I go.
But perhaps, like many men who recognize the things that matter the most in life, the accolades of OTUNBA GBENGA Daniel would probably cherish above all else are the simplest: husband, father, uncle, brother, friend.
As he continues to show love and help his fellow human beings, I hope he will not get discouraged. I hope the Almighty will continue to strengthen him to do more and more for his people.
OGD is the proud husband of Yeye Olufunke Daniel, though her years as the elegant First Lady of Ogun State are now behind her. She remains the First Lady of Daniel's kingdom as she continues to exude a radiance that shines even brighter with the passage of time. Together, the Daniels are blessed with wonderful and successful children.
He's a great thinker. He's somebody that projects, and I admire him for that. Most of the time, he tells you do this, you're wondering why he says do this, and then maybe 6 months later, you then realize, oh, okay, that's why. Of course, it's not every time you go back and give him the credits. But then inside you, you know. But I would just like to say congratulations and thank you.
So I remember his 40th like it was yesterday. So if that is 60, I feel old. But I feel good because, you know, he's reached a milestone in his life, a very great one. Not a lot of people make it to 60, and he's made it to 60 and he's achieved so much. I would like to wish my king, my #1 king, I'd like to wish him a happy birthday from his little princess. I wish you nothing but joy, nothing but happiness.
At 60, I'll describe him as extremely powerful, hardworking, and intelligent. I feel without him, some things I have learned, some things I have done, I will not be able to do from his life lessons and everything he has done. I just feel as though he's just such a hard-working man. Like, when he wants to do something, he does it. I just wish him a very happy birthday and just many more years in front of him and many more successes.
He's done so much for the family, for his friends, for the society, and God has preserved his life. He's alive today and he's still kicking. And I believe he has every reason to give thanks to God. 60 years in the life of a man is a long way. I pray that God will continue to strengthen him. God will answer all his prayers. I pray we'll continue to grow from strength to strength. And I pray that everything he touches becomes gold. I would also like to, on behalf of the entire family, wish him many happy returns of the day. Long life, prosperity, good health, and everything he wishes for himself.
As he celebrates the Diamond Jubilee of his eventful sojourn on Mother Earth, Justice Olubenga Daniel can rightfully look back with nostalgia, pride, gratitude, and an enormous sense of fulfillment on a life filled with challenges, opportunities, and accomplishments. A life filled with invaluable experience and priceless life lessons, and also forward to many more years of even more remarkable accomplishments and successes, as well as selfless service to his community, his nation, humanity, and God. What a man, and what a life! Perhaps, in answer to the question posed by Shakespeare's timeless observation about the nature of greatness, it can indeed be threefold. A man can be born into it and then achieve even more of it by dint of hard work, perseverance against all odds, commitment, focus, and abiding faith in God's providence, and have yet more greatness thrust upon him by the call of history, destiny, society, and circumstance. That is perhaps the only way to explain and appreciate the enigma of the man known to the world as Justus GBENGA Daniel as he continues his remarkable life journey in the years beyond his Diamond Jubilee. This is to many, many more years of life in good health and high spirits of uncommon success and true greatness. Happy birthday!